Yeah, boom to the hay, all your sports fans out there in the Tubosphere. Welcome to the OMSR. Doing a rare sport highlight bit. I'm your brief but concise host, Will the Alternative ESPN, or Box Sports Throat. Had to cover this. Got a lot of personal sports history on the channel. Just briefly, just the montage of the highlights coming up. This was the go-ahead. And that's a very valid question. I'd have to say probably yes. This, being a Rams booster since I was a little kid, the only NFL team I really ever followed. Pay attention to what's going on. That was actually really good to watch. So I know that this guy's not everyone's cup of tea, but he is talented and he's very cerebral. And so a lot of people have their opinion about, well, Colin Cowturd, a lot of them refer to him, you know, his opinions are, there is a reason why Fox pulled him away from ESPN. He's talented. Like I said before, it bears repeating, cerebral. So is the OMSR. This hasn't been noticed very much, but I do this pro bono anyway, and not all day, every day. For years now, and I should have got my own gig. ESPN took a lot of my ideas and formatting without giving any credit. So maybe he got tired of that, who knows. But it's a good little discussion here. Thanks for watching. Roll clips.
I'm wearing Kansas City Chiefs red, even though they lost the game. Joy Taylor is joining me. How are you, Joy?
I'm great. What a game, huh?
It was a wild game. In 1 hour from now, the herd hierarchy, my top 10 NFL team. A weird top 10 this week. Well, first of all, that was crazy. Tip of the cap to both organizations. It was not only a great game, it was an odd game, and let me explain why. Think about the NFL. They prepare a year for the Super Bowl. Then they get to the Super Bowl, and they need an extra week to prepare, and the security, and the teams, and the stadium, and the parking, and that. These two teams, that game felt like not only was it great, it was odd, because it was thrown together. The teams had to move, the security had to move, the broadcast networks had to move, the teams had to figure out where to stay, they hadn't booked rooms, and for those two teams, in all that mess, to come together last night and give us that, tip of the cap to the Hunt family, Andy Reid and the Chiefs, tip of the cap to Les Snead, Stan Kroenke, the Rams organization, Sean McVay. That was unbelievable. I mean, good God, fans, security, hotels, teams, training, practices, networks. They got through. You know what that was last night? That was your wife coming to you and saying, you know that huge Thanksgiving party in 2 days on Thursday? Yeah. You know, like 45 cousins at your brother's house? Yeah. It's at our house. What? We don't have the space. It's at our house. We don't have the rooms. It's at our house. We don't have the food. It's at our house. What happened? Their dishwasher broke. Their kitchen got flooded. It's at our house. But what? And you turn to your wife and you say, order some champagne, honey. Let's just have a good time. Last night, that was just a good time. When you got to throw a party together and 90,000 people are going to be there, or however many were, and you don't have time to get out all the wrinkles, you just have a good time. It was what every great game is. There was some weird clock management by Sean McVay. What was he doing? A 28-second drive? Take a knee, bro. There was some officiating calls you didn't love. There was strange decisions by Patrick Mahomes late. There was stars making star plays. There was Tyreek Hill twice, a punt, a kickoff. What are you doing? What are you doing returning those? It was everything a great game is. It's never clean. Every great fight I've been to, every great NFL game I've been to, every great Final Four game, there's always a clock management issue. There's always a tip pass or a call you don't like. There's always a star being a star and a star doing a knucklehead thing. Calling me officiating. What about it? Kansas City wasn't ready to play in the first 8 minutes. They had a lot of penalties. That's not on the officials. What about the tip pass? What about it? They let the play go, then they reversed it. They got it right. What about the Rams offensive lineman that moved? Guess what? You have a fireworks show for 4 hours. Sometimes one of those fireworks goes off into the tree, starts a little fire. It's not perfect. Last night was not built to be perfect. It was your wife coming to you and saying, we got to host 48 people in your little 2,200 square foot house for a Thanksgiving party and not that much yard to play with. And you just turn to your wife and say, let's just have a good time. And the league just said, we're going to bring some refs in. We're going to do the best we can. We're not really prepared for it. The game was scheduled for Mexico City. Now it's in Los Angeles. L.A. is going through fires. I mean, what this city in L.A. is going through is remarkable that they could put it together. It was great. Well, what about the defense? What about it? There were 3 defensive touchdowns. The Rams created 5 turnovers from Kansas City's offense. Both quarterbacks took an absolute beating last night. I mean, there were some shots on those quarterbacks. I mean, folks, you keep telling me you love the NBA, but a third of the league's unwatchable, and the regular season's irrelevant. We know who's going to be there in the end. You tell me you love baseball, but analytics are killing offense. That was 4 hours of fun. That was 4 hours of champagne. Yeah, some spilled on the carpet. Kansas City's owners and their GMs and their front office and their coaches, tip of the cap. And for the Rams, tip of the cap. That was a remarkable showcase. Man, listen, some things, you know, a wedding, you plan 6 months for a wedding, it should be mostly perfect. The picture should be perfect and the flowers should be perfect. If you throw a wedding together in 3 days, guess what? The photographer's probably going to be drunk, and there's going to be fuzzy pictures. But just make it a good time. And you couldn't come away from that game, even in Kansas City, thinking, God, that was fun. That was just fun. First ever game, both teams over 50. Third most points in an NFL game. You had how many total yards? 14 combined touchdowns. I loved it. Let me say this, though. I've watched the Kansas City Chiefs twice this year. Go to New England and lose. And go to the Rams and lose. And in both instances, my takeaway is, I think Kansas City's better than New England and the Rams. This morning, I think Kansas City's the better team. Let me ask you, if the Rams had played in Kansas City and had 5 turnovers, you think the Chiefs only win by 3? Listen, Kansas City, to only lose like they did, think about this. They weren't dialed in. I mean, you could tell from all the travel, the first 8 minutes of the game, they had a bad first quarter. It happens. They got a young team, young quarterback. They were bad for about 8 minutes. They were on the road, and not on the road destination they were supposed to be in. They had 5 turnovers, 2 defensive touchdowns. They dropped the game-winning interception. And I'm sitting there watching it, and I'm like, they're in this game with a chance to win. I think if you'd asked the Rams to move, play it in Kansas City, had all those turnovers, had a bad first quarter, I don't think the Rams would have been around at the end. I mean, listen, man, Kansas City had the ball twice. All they were away was a field goal. Considering all the moves, all the turnovers, awful first quarter, dropped the game-winning pick, and Kansas City standing around at the end, I think Kansas City's a better team. And I felt that way after the New England game. I'm like, yeah, I get why New England won. It's Foxborough, it's Brady. He's been there before. They get the ball. I get why New England won, but I feel like Kansas City in the playoffs could go to New England and win. I feel there's no chance for New England to go to Kansas City and win. In fact, my takeaway last night was I can see several teams in the NFC coming to Los Angeles like a New Orleans Saints and winning. I can see it. I can see that happening. They get that running game going. I can't see anybody in the AFC. Pittsburgh would have a shot, but they make so many mistakes, it's hard to go on the road, throw 3 picks, and win. You think Texans going to go on the road and win in Kansas City? New England? Indianapolis, if they get in? Baltimore, if they get in? Chargers? I mean, it's funny because we think of the Rams' offense as home run hitting, but their defense is home run hitting. But I got to tell you something. I walked out of that New England game and I walked out of that Rams game, and Kansas City went 0-2, and I think Kansas City's better than both those teams. I think Kansas City could play New England in New England, the Rams in the Ram again and win. I don't think either of those teams, Rams or New England, can go to Kansas City and win. I mean, remember that Rams that Chiefs touchdown, the Patrick Mahomes one? I mean, this is classic Rams defense. The Chiefs down 10. Play action fake. Bootleg throwback at 10. Throw it long. Tyreek Hill's wide open at the 20, 15, 10, 5. Nobody is within the boundaries of California. And now a flag is thrown as the touchdown is completed. The Chiefs go 73 yards in one play. That's a lot of Ram stuff. It's a lot of big plays. It's a lot of home runs. But man, on defense, they swing and miss all the time.